This is D'Lo Brown. You better recognize this. The only podcast I pay attention to is the Ministry of Wrestling. Believe that.
Hey yo, how you doing, guys? It's me, the one AJ, and I'm here with Big Tone, and we are back for Superstar Spotlight. How you doing, Tone?
I'm good. As always, Big Tone in the zone. Very happy today. There's smiles all around the ministry. AJ, why is there smiles around the ministry?
Listen, it's been a while since anyone has seen a Superstar Spotlight, and it's only been our little prediction shows, and I do apologize for that. Sent an email out to a gentleman, and when I got the reply back, sent it into the group chat, and the replies between us is like, oh my God, it's happened. Like, this is the big one. This is like catching Moby Dick, as far as I'm concerned. This is as big as it gets, guys. Like, I'm going to give you a small clue into who he is. Chris Jericho, rock and roll Oceanic champion. PWI's 97 out of 500. I believe he should have been higher, but hey, you can't get it all. Purpose Wrestling champion, former. Rev Pro Platinum superstar. He's platinum. He's done everything in there. Riot Cabaret current champion. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the OJMO himself, Mr. Michael Oku. Michael, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. And I'm very excited to be on. Very excited to talk some pro wrestling. Awesome.
Great stuff. Like, one of the things that we are ever so grateful for, I'll give you a bit of a backstory into how I first came across the name Michael Oku. I live in Boreham Wood. I'm going to a show called Ignite, and they post up a video, and the first match I watch is Michael Oku. And I'm like, hey, this is a really good match. And I'm like, oh, he's going on the Jericho Cruise, XYZ. And I'm like, right, cool. Hopefully I'll see more of this guy. Go to Rev Pro, and you're taking on Zach Gibson for the defending your title. Stellar match. And from there, every show I go to, Michael Oku's either there or has been there and is featured. And it is just such an awesome feeling to see how big UK wrestling has been, and you being at the forefront is just amazing.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate those kind of words. I'm out here trying my best. It's always interesting hearing where people see me first. There's always a not a complacency, but an assumption from my part of where people will catch me or have heard of me for the first time because of either high profile matches I've had. So it's so interesting that you first saw me from Boreham Wood, from Ignite Pro Wrestling, where I wrestled Taylor James. So that's awesome. That's awesome stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was a bit less fortunate to see that match, but I do remember meeting you, like when you was taking on Zach Gibson, when Will Ospreay just got punched in the face by a game kid, and like it was at a meet and greet, and like there was like some dead air, and who should come to the rescue? None other than the champ himself, to let the fans take pictures with him, man. I thought that was a class act from a classy guy.
Yeah, that's 100% the first time I remember seeing you guys. You know, it was at that show at Crystal Palace, Uprising 2023. Time is flying. And I specifically remember that Gabe Kidd and Will Ospreay decided to be nice and unprofessional. So I thought the champion should once again clean up after Will Ospreay's mess. And really, I guess it ended up being foreshadowing for happened later in the night.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Michael Oku journey in terms of like your first memories of wrestling, your first passions, when you realized that moment when you're like, I'm actually a wrestling fan. What was your moment?
It's so hard to think of the moment of when I was a wrestling fan because my family, I'm the youngest in my family. I've got an older brother, an older sister, mom and dad. So when I grew up, wrestling was just another thing that was on the television. Cartoons were on TV, Tom and Jerry was on TV, and so was pro wrestling. So I can only think of a few early memories, such as not being allowed to watch the first Hell in a Cell match. I was told that I had to go to bed because it was going to be too violent, so they must have promoted it well enough. But I remember fully having memories of everything like week in, week out of pro wrestling from like 99 onwards in the Attitude Era and WWF. Those were kind of my first things. But in terms of wrestlers at the time, I mean, again, that's the Attitude Era. That is the time in pro wrestling. When I'm 6, 7 years old. Not even just in wrestling, but I'm talking about in the entire world. I'm looking at a guy called The Rock, and I'm thinking, there's nobody cooler than this guy. Stone Cold, coolest guy, just giving stunners every time. So Chris Jericho, so cool. Like all these people were just cool that I had to keep watching. I had to keep seeing wrestling, and it's so crazy that your intro as D'Lo Brown, because another guy who I would shake my head or violently shake my head, concussively shake my head when I was at a young age, and I would emulate his frog splash. I thought he always had the best frog splash, the lowdown. So I would do that jumping off the top bunk bed onto my sister's single bed. I would do the frog splash at the age of 7. So as a little aside, it's very cool that was one of my favorite moves, and it's still one that I do to this day.
Was your sister on the bed when you was doing that move?
I always make sure she's out the room, not seeing that I'm actually doing it. I have to hide and do it. No, yeah, she's. Yeah.
Did you watch wrestling on Channel 4?
So I was one of the fortunate kids that had Sky.
Ah, okay.
So because I was able to really lock in and watch Raw, watch SmackDown, watch SmackDown when it was on Sky One as well.
Yeah,
everybody remembers there was the pay-per-views that would come on every now and then. Royal Rumble 2000 on Channel 4.
Yeah.
It would go on commercial break, and they had the Big Show and Undertaker goozling each other, double goozle, But I was fortunate enough to be watching it, and WCW. It's so funny because some people say, "Oh, did you prefer WWF or WCW?" If you guys, if you're fans back in the day too, in the UK, it was just more accessible to get WWF and WCW. From what I remember, the Cartoon Network would change to TNT at like 9 p.m. And that's how you had to catch WCW Nitro. And then sometimes on Channel 5, it would show some WCW, I think like on Fridays. So it was harder to kind of catch, and you didn't know if you were like following it week to week, if it was like in canon, and it was easier to follow WWF. So although I was keeping an eye on WCW, and I was becoming a fan of the things I was seeing there, and I knew who was cool there, it was just easier to be a WWF fan at that age and at that time.
Was you allowed to stay up to like 2 o'clock to watch it, or did you just do it anyway?
My dad let us. My mum did not. So my dad would be like sneaking stuff because he wants to watch it too. He's all in too. He's trying to watch the pay-per-views too and find out live what's going on. And we'd be watching it, and if we made too much noise, and if our dad heard us, sorry, if our mum heard us, then it would have to be like, boom, yeah, we've got to go back to bed, and then we try and see if we can sneak back slowly to continue watching whatever we're watching.
Bag it. Fond memories, because that is exactly how life was with me. It was sneaking in when you can. Oh, is that a creep? No, turn it off, lower it down, keep it down. So I know all those memories. And just like you said, it was so much easier because you could catch Raw, SmackDown, Heat, or whatever on Sky. WCW had TNT, but then you're seeing stuff about Thunder. I was such a wrestling fan back then. I was watching DSF to catch their pay-per-views in German. That was like the only way to catch it. Like, landed on the channel once and I saw it. I was like, wow, that's the same pay-per-view they were talking about. It was so much harder to follow the entire WCW journey than it was WWF. So yeah, you just gave me so many fond memories of growing up back in the day. But here's a question, and it's something it's not in our list of questions, but because you mentioned D'Lo and the frog splash, which each time we see you perform and hit that frog splash, we're like, it's great. Why? How did you pick the half crab over the frog splash as a finisher, considering you do such a beautiful
half crab over the frog splash?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
just
that special appearance.
It's just the mirror, just slowly walking in.
I'm so sorry.
It's the serious wrestler.
I'm so sorry.
He does this all the time.
Hey, Amira.
He's just getting her back. Her bag and she's sneaking out. Scram.
Special guest appearance right there.
There you go. That's it. That's what happens. Sometimes you never know who's going to pop in. You're talking about the frog splash and the half crab.
And the half crab, yeah.
Well, why I landed on those? Well, so the frog splash again. When I was doing the lowdown as a kid at home, I always just thought it was cool the way it looked, and I saw that it was something I could do. I was able to like split my legs enough to do that frog splash. So I thought that was a cool way. And I thought it looked the most like a frog, considering it's called a frog splash. So that was the thing in my head. I just said, I would love to, if I was a wrestler, that'd be the move. Half crab. There's two main reasons. Is I've got an older brother. Naturally, we would wrestle in the house, and for some reason, although he can throw me around and lift me up and run, the one move I could get on was a half crab. That was the one move I could get on him. So I found a way to make that like a special thing. The other reason as well was growing up on favorite wrestler all time, Chris Jericho, but also especially during like the 2002, 2003 time, that was like when Angle and Benoit as well was really becoming like the guys who were having the best matches consistently on every show. When it came to the crab, half crab, I was enamored by how so many submission wrestlers had cool ways of getting into their submissions, that I noticed that that's what makes those matches exciting. The different ways they can come out of nowhere with these submissions, different ways they can get into it. They can be reversed as well. I thought added elements into the match. So I thought, man, it would be really cool if, again, if I say I would be a wrestler, that I had a submission finish. And other than Lance Storm, nobody really was set on the half crab. So I thought, let me go all in on the half crab being my finish. And it's worked out for me really well so far.
Yeah.
Hey, they've put many a man away. Talking
100%.
that, so I have to bring up this picture. I'm going to bring it up now. You talked about your hero being Chris Jericho. Look at this moment here. Look at this golden moment there. Jericho in the half crab. So hey,
right there.
Well done.
Yeah, man. So you mentioned Jericho is your guy. Give us your Rushmore then, like, you know, your top 4 influences.
I know 50%.
Okay. That's interesting that you say influences, because then that makes it a little bit easier. The Rock, Chris Jericho. That's easy. That goes without saying. I have to say 2 more. One is Christian.
Oh.
Reason I put Christian there, he's a big favorite of mine. And then let me get to my number 4, because then the reason as well is also very similar. In terms of influences, is Adam Cole. Here's the reason why. Because when I started wrestling, and Adam Cole was like one of my last influences. That was one that I picked up when I started wrestling training. The reason being, I am a smaller guy, and something that always fascinated me about Adam Cole, as well as Christian, was how they as smaller guys were still able to be main eventers. We're still able to be presented as big, larger than life, big people. So I would literally look at them to study them and understand, okay, how does Adam Cole, what does he do that makes him, people don't even think twice about him being longest reigning, NXT champion, longest reigning Ring of Honor champion. So when I started training, I was like, I need to study what Adam Cole is doing, how he carries himself to make himself feel twice as big as he is. And then I can implement that into my own game.
No, it's a good choice and a good look as well, because we can see when you're in there. To be honest, I've never noticed your height. It's all about your aura and your presentation as a star, and that's what we see. That's the first thing we see, and of course, your technical ability as well.
No, thank you, and I appreciate that. Yeah, like so, I'm tall enough. Like I'm 6 foot. With the height, with this high top, we can add a couple more inches. But yeah, like I'm literally not a heavyweight in terms of weight. I'm obviously trying to put on size because that's the games, pro wrestling, it's TV, everything. But yeah, like I've done my very best to implement high flying as well with my technical wrestling and as well as with everything else that comes with pro wrestling, and that's part of it. Again, Shawn Michaels is a very similar thing as well, where especially when he was around in the land of giants, the reason he was remembered was because of how well he performed in the ring.
Indeed. You talked about the development and the training and Adam Cole being in there. Talking of someone who did train you is the great Eddie Dennis. How did you find his school? How did you find the training experience under Eddie?
Yeah, no, Eddie Dennis is an amazing trainer. So I actually started training in 2017. I was looking. And that was when I was like, I'm taking the plunge. I'm gonna just start. I'm gonna try and be a wrestler. Let me at least try, and let's see what happens. The Progress Wrestling School. It was called the Projo, the Progress Wrestling Dojo. Uh, Progress was so huge. There was a wrestling boom in British independent wrestling at the time that I wasn't even fully aware of. But I had heard of Progress Wrestling. Then I saw they had a they had a training school, and it was in Brixton. And I'm like, I'm an idiot if I don't even try it. If I, a Londoner, don't go to a training school that's in Brixton, I'm a fool for not even trying. So I signed up, did a beginner's course, did really well in that. Knew that I had the bug immediately as soon as I saw the ring. When I entered the training school, I saw the ring. It's like this is it. And then Eddie Dennis was applying his knowledge that he'd already had years and years of wrestling experience. You know, his two best friends are Mark Andrews and Pete Dunne, and they traveled the three of them traveled the world with each other. So he uses the experiences that he's had and in the sense they've had to teach us, the trainers, and teach me and show me things that maybe other trainers wouldn't be able to give in terms of knowledge and small details that he really feels are important. Now I feel are important. So Eddie Dennis is a huge reason as to where I am today.
Brilliant, man. I mean, like, you must be so excited, and he must be excited to see where you've come in relatively, like, short amount of time, because again, 2019, that feels like yesterday. But like, here
Exactly.
you
Well,
are, you're on the top of the mountain of the UK wrestling food chain.
yeah, man, it's relatively happened quickly in terms of where I am in terms of my level of experience. So it's 7 years of training. Last month or June would have been 7 years since my first ever wrestling match. We're ignoring that there was a pandemic that happened as well that
Yeah.
shaved off like a good 2 years of good experience. But the position I'm in now and the places that I'm wrestling, I'm in with guys who have minimum 10 years of experience, on average 15, 20. When I went over to Mexico, I'm wrestling people and I ask how long they've been wrestling and they say 30 years. So that shows me it makes sense because they're at that level. To be at that level, you have to have decades more of experience. So I always do feel like I'm in the deep end when I'm wrestling, but I'm always having to prove myself that I am worthy of being in the positions that I've been put in, so to speak.
Well, every time we see you, definitely think you're worthy.
Each match
Thank
just
you.
outdoes the other. It's like you feel like you've seen a great match, and it's funny. We didn't do it this year, but the year before we'd done a Ministry of Wrestling Awards, and it was just like quoting our favorite matches, this, that, and the other. This year, when we were about to do it, it was your matches. Like, the UK scene had done such an impact on us that some of the stuff we're seeing abroad from the companies that we've grown up loving are taking second places to the stuff that we're seeing you guys do. And that is something that we just have to honestly take the time to thank you for. And talking about the places that we've seen you is 2019 again, we'll bring up your Rev Pro debut. How did you come about meeting Andy, getting on the stage there? And how did it feel being in front of doing your training and then being in such a main stage such as Rev Pro?
It was all about what I was taught to do. When I started training and became like an advanced student, I was ready to then wrestle on shows. Something that was instilled in us is you go to shows, you ask if you can help out, and your reward is you get to be there and watch the shows. And again, doing that in the middle of the independent wrestling boom means that you're like front row, able to see Ishii, Walter, or Gunther now. He's a current worldwide champion. Seeing these people wrestle frequently right in front of you, British strong style of Pete Dunne, Trent Seven. You're seeing these people who have championships now in WWE and in AEW. They were regulars on the UK Indies, and I was getting a front row seat to watch them and to essentially learn from them. So from 2017, I was crewing any Rev Pro show I was available to crew. I was going there, and I was just helping. And I wasn't really 100% expecting to wrestle on the next show. It wasn't like, oh man, if I crew these shows, I will just eventually wrestle. Until one fateful day, it was actually near the end of 2018, Rev Pro bagged themselves a TV deal. And they were on a TV channel called Free Sports. And they were going to start filming some like some episodic content, all at York Hall, Bethnal Green. And Andy needed a body. And I literally mean that in the sense of I was someone that was needed to job to the Great O'Khan. It was like Great O'Khan is going to have some squash matches where, we just show that he's an unbeatable monster. And that was when he just asked me, "Are you good?" And I was like, "Yes, I promise I'm good." And the next day, after setting up York Hall, Bethnal Green for the TV tapings, he was like, "All right, bring your gear. You're going to wrestle." And that was my debut wrestling. It was like commentated by Kevin Kelly. I was in the ring. I was wrestling for less than 2 minutes, but I was making sure, I'm going to maximize those 2 minutes. I'm going to make sure that I do the best job at getting beaten up, which really is my like best attribute if I was to pick one. And I impressed enough that Andy gave me more opportunities from there, and there. Here's a longer match. Here's more opponents, bigger opponents. And that's how my Rev Pro relationship began with Andy Clothing.
All right. So like you talk about like your first experiences, and obviously that led to many more experiences. What are some of the challenges you faced coming through the industry?
My personal challenges has just been my lack of experience. I'm not literally, but I'm inexperienced, which is green. I'm green compared to the people I'm being put in the ring with, but promoters see enough in me that they think I'm worth giving an opportunity wrestling these very experienced people. So finding success very quickly means that then I am being put in front of bigger eyes quickly. And that includes wrestling fans. And wrestling fans, they are well within their right to then judge me with the same brush that they will judge those people who are in those positions. So they will judge me the same brush that they judge, someone who would be regarded as the best in the world. And there are holes in my game. There are things I'm still trying to improve on. I am far from a finished product. So there's so much I'm trying to improve on, but at the same time, I'm in these positions where, all right, okay, you're having these matches that are being highly regarded. You're wrestling these people who are highly regarded, or these people are bigging you up who are highly regarded. It's all these things that are coming at me where I'm still trying to learn so much about pro wrestling, so much about who I am as a wrestler, that I'm now playing this balancing game of telling people I'm this good, that I deserve to be on this stage, as well as saying, but please just bear in mind, I'm learning so much. That to me, that's been the hardest struggle above anything for me in wrestling.
But you mask it so well. It would be really difficult to know that if you didn't tell me.
It's one of those things, It's just one of those things where it's fake it till you make it. It's fake it till you make it. And wrestling's so much about perception. It's about perception, but like I have real anxieties about how good I am, how good I really am, or how good am I going to be? Have I reached my peak? I'm like, there's so many things deep down, and all wrestlers get this, by the way. But when your music plays, you come up the curtain. Nah, that doesn't exist anymore. You gotta be believing you are the absolute top and the absolute best.
So with that being there, where you say you're an unfinished project and there's still these holes along the way, is it comforting to be crowned the longest reigning Rev Pro cruiserweight champion, while at the same time they're giving you the tag titles to hold? Does that help boost the confidence and give you that drive to go that bit further? Does that reassure you more? Are you still facing those same challenges that you initially did?
It's still there, obviously, internally, but what that does do is, when you hold a title and you hold multiple titles at one time, it does kind of tell me, all right, I must be doing something right for these people to give me that vote of confidence, and for it to be multiple people in one promotion. Because sometimes you can make the argument. If it was just one promotion, you could say, all right, maybe this guy for some reason has some infatuation with you, but the rest of the world or other places don't see it. But the very cool thing is I've been fortunate enough to hold championships across multiple countries, multiple promotions at the same time or different times. And that tells me, all right, what I'm doing translates to other parts of the world, other promotions and other people. So that does it for sure help with those any kind of like doubts that I may have.
Yeah, I mean, like you can see it by the way you carry yourself as well, and like the character that you've crafted for yourself. Let's talk about that a bit. Like, how did we get to from like point A to point B today in terms of your character? How did you craft Michael Oku today?
That's such an interesting question because what I don't know how I would describe my character. If you're saying what is your character, I don't even I wouldn't be able to say it in a sentence. The shortest answer I could say is it's just me. But
Yeah.
and there's truth to that. That's like why sometimes, and you know, I now take training as well, and trainees come to me and ask about character stuff. The advice I give them is don't think of the word character, think of the word personality. What is your personality? Who are you as a person? And translate that to who you are as a wrestler. Because it's true, like there's not much difference between the person you're talking to now and the person that steps out in the ring. It's the same. They have the same shared experiences because it's the same person in that sense, the same human being. Of course, there's examples of wrestlers who they completely veer from who they really are. But I think there's so many more examples of the best and most successful wrestlers in wrestling are extensions of who they really are. So when you ask me about if you ask me about what my story is, my life story is, I feel like that gives you an idea of what my character is. And when you talk to me about my wrestling fandom, that's really who my character is as a wrestler. It is a huge wrestling fan that I'm against all odds in terms of being undersized, in terms of all of these different things, doesn't care about that and strives to be the very best. And again, that comes with time. There's a development. I grow a connection with the fans because they've seen that's development over all these years. And because it's happened in a quick time, a lot of them were there from the very beginning. A lot of them saw me from match one and saw me develop into the wrestler I am now. So that connection built where they saw me legitimately gain confidence, legitimately believe in myself. And and really it's my journey that has made me who I am today. And with the bigger jackets, before I would wear a small jacket because I wasn't that confident, and now I want it to be as big as possible to show how big I am in pro wrestling. So that is kind of where we got to where I was, just literally by the journey I took for real in pro wrestling.
What about the specific elements? Like, of course, like we have the computer game like references. Yeah, like the sort of Metal Gear Solid type of like entrance that you did at high stakes. Are you a gamer, Michael?
Yeah, I've not played video games properly as hardcore as I used to. I was a kid, I had a problem. I had a problem. I had a problem. I was always playing video games. I was like a PlayStation guy, so to speak. And so that's why, like, my favorite video game of all time is Metal Gear Solid. I've played all of them. I was a PES guy, not a FIFA guy as well. That's a controversial thing, but
That
I
is.
know. Yeah. But like, yeah, I was always playing video games, and then my catchphrase is now we play. That actually came from Ric Flair. Uh, people people forget, but there was a lot of the times, especially in the 90s and 80s, he would grab someone's leg and he'd shout, "Now we go to school," and then try for the figure four. And so back when I was developing as a wrestler and I was certain I was going to do the half crab, I'm racking my brain trying like, okay, this is a move that kind of most people do just randomly in the match. So working with leg, I just put it in at some point. How do I make this move grandiose and bigger than ever? And I thought if I attach a catchphrase to that move, and now get people excited to see the move. And so I thought about when Ric Flair would grab the leg and say, now we go to school. And I thought, ooh, now we'll just shorten it out, make it real quick. And the combination of me being a gamer just made it a thing where I can now apply any kind of video game references for games that I loved or made a connection to me whenever I can. So that's why that high stakes entrance had that Metal Gear Solid thing, because I just like the idea of showing highlights of my last Will Ospreay match where I lost, and it just goes to game over. And with every video game, you can either completely quit the game or you can try again. You can continue. And so that was me pressing continue, and then here we go, and here comes the next, the next try at Will Ospreay.
That was a big match, I tell you. It was such a night. And here we go. It wasn't even to be brought up now, but we're bringing that up.
Sure, why not?
This match here, we're talking Oku Ospreay, the Rev Pro Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship at high stakes. Now, the match took place. It caught the attention of a certain Dave Meltzer. You are a holder of a 6-star rating. Now, I know I could be quite controversial out there, and I could be like, Meltzer's an AEW guy. You took time to do a Rev Pro match. I don't follow Dave that much. I always read dirt sheets where I can and what have you, but it's those references. And to know that I don't know how much Rev Pro gets mentioned or noticed by Dave, but to know that this one was noticed, you're in it, and it's got 6 stars. I mean, most people work off the 5. You can only get 7 if it's in Tokyo. You got 6 in London.
I'm working on that.
How did that feel?
Exactly, and that's cool, right? Well, first it was 6 in the Tokyo Dome, or it's only 5 in the Tokyo Dome. So to do it like on a Crystal Palace February, a cold day in Crystal Palace, I think that says something. It's 100% a cool feeling. I feel like there's a thing with wrestlers where maybe you're not supposed to say it's a cool feeling. You're supposed to keep it quiet or stum. It's a cool feeling, especially as an independent wrestler. I can understand if people who are in WWE or in AEW, if they say they don't really care for his ratings, I can believe that they do, and I can understand that. Really, because they've got the bag. They're okay. They're everything. That's not their priority in wrestling. For an indie wrestler, all I'm trying to do at this point is get buzz. That is my most valuable thing, is to create buzz, because then that can lead me to where I want to go next. So for someone to have that much reach, that much influence, and for people who do highly regard his opinion to say, I'm going to watch what he already watched the first one we had, which was 2 years prior. And he only watched that because it got so much buzz from people on the internet, literally asking him saying, Dave, you have to watch this match they had in 2022. You have to watch it. He said, but he's going to watch it. He gave that one 5 stars, which already blew my mind. Wow. So with this one, he didn't need to be told. He was like, oh, it's happening again. I'm watching it. And from what I heard, he watched it live. He subscribed to RevPro on demand and watched it live. Which again, yeah, he's not watching, British indies regularly. He's got so much more that he's watching and rating and reviewing and and discussing. But he said, I'm watching this one live. I don't care what time it is in US time. And it helps, it helps if someone says, hey, this match is one of the best matches I've ever seen. You should check it out. And it helps me as an independent wrestler grow my name, grow my brand, grow my perception. And take me to wherever it is I want to go. That match, it will. I have felt how much it has changed the trajectory of my career. It's only slowly but happening. I say slowly; it's happening very quickly. And that's one that I don't think I can have a better match than that, or better performance than that. But obviously I'll try. But again, that match is one I'm so proud of.
Would you say that's your most memorable match ever?
My most, sorry?
Memorable match ever.
I think so. Naturally, there's so many things that go into that being the case. It being Will Ospreay's last UK indie match.
Mm.
The added thing of Tony Khan being in attendance. He himself being like, I need to be here for this match. Because he only showed up when our match was on. He was like, I'm making a stop to see this match. There's a lot that goes into why I could never forget it. Um, so many elements, and the callbacks to the match that we had 2 years prior that already had loads of buzz. That's for sure the biggest match I've ever had.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta feel so good being hand selected really to be Will Ospreay's last opponent before he moved across seas. He's now a part of AEW. How did that feeling feel for you?
It's incredibly cool because he didn't have to. He didn't have to. He'd already signed his contract. He was an AEW signed wrestler when he had that match. He could have just been like, right, okay, cool. I'm signed. I'm just gonna start wrestling for AEW. See ya. But he was like, we need to run this match back. This specific match. He can do whatever he wants at this stage. And he said, my last match should be with Michael Oku. And then that already, considering the things he's already done and the wrestler that he is now, it's a huge honor, and there's nothing better I can say about that.
I need to ask this, Michael, because we're looking at
Of course.
this. We take the Rev Pro element of your debut, Great Okan, 2019. This man has a 5-year title reign, and you are once again the man that they choose to be the one to end that reign and take that title. I've got to bring this picture up because I mentioned it before. Okay, there may be one title left now, sadly. But here we are, a man with the Rev Pro title, the Purpose title, the Riot Cabaret title, and the Jericho Cruise title. What's it? I mean, I'm going to take it from a Rev Pro standpoint. To have that the company have that much trust in you, but then take it that next step further to the UK trusting you in that way. How does that feeling feel for you?
It's what I wanted, It's definitely what my goal was. In 2018, NXT UK, there was this incredible period where NXT UK had essentially begun. There were contracted wrestlers from the UK. They were signed to WWE, but they were still allowed to do the indies. And so we're in this weird, interesting purgatory, this crazy time where they had their names increased by doing WWE shows and NXT shows. So Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate had that crazy match at NXT TakeOver Chicago that was commentated by Jim Ross. And everybody was like, who are these guys? It's the greatest match ever. All that. And then they were doing indie shows in the UK like a week or so later. It was such a fun, big time. But then near the end of 2018, it had come out that there were going to be restrictions in place where they were like, oh, okay, all right, we've had our fun. You've had your fun. These are our guys now. You're not allowed to do indies unless, except for maybe a couple of certain indies that are aligned with WWE. So it would be like the Progress, ICW, the ones that ended up on the network. When I saw that, even though I was essentially a year into my wrestling career, I was like, this is my time. There's now a gap for someone to step up. And I made it my priority to be the person that stepped up in all these promotions. And so when you talk about, being given these opportunities and being trusted with these opportunities and trusted with these championships, I feel like I earned that trust. I feel like that's the key part about it. I had to earn it by consistently showing my loyalty, consistently showing my work ethic at a high level. And so me eventually defeating the Great Okan, it was not some grandiose plan that started from my debut. It was so many things fell into place. So many people either weren't living up to their potential, or so many people weren't as reliable. And then I was the constant that was proving that I was going above and beyond, and I was overachieving. That it became a thing where, all right, it makes sense that this is the next champion. It feels like the crowd wants this to be the next champion, so that's what we're going to do. And the same thing with all these other companies. They're doing what's best for their promotions, right? Cabaret, Purpose, even freaking the Jericho Cruise. There's what to them makes the most sense is who they give the championship to. So for it to be me, I feel like it's again a reflection on the trust I have earned through all these years of grinding, all these years of work.
It's definitely a reflection of the hard work and your work effort that you put in every single time. I'm particularly interested in the Jericho Cruise, Mondo. How did that one come about?
I mean, we could talk about how the whole Jericho Cruise situation started. It was from PWG. You know, I'm there, requested to be part of PWG Bola Battle of Los Angeles 2023. That's where I wrestled Konosuke Takeshita in the first round. And then that's where I wrestled.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Nah, man, you can interrupt any time, Amir. Special guest appearances. We got 2 for the price of 1.
This is live. This is live. The pleasure, bro. Okay, all right. All right. Where's my charger? Are you sure you don't need this? You don't need this? Are you sure you don't know? He's gonna be. You don't need this? Are you sure? Okay, all right. You don't want. Okay. Embarrassment.
Don't be embarrassed, man.
It'll be clipped. You can't make up. You can't use. Bola Battle of Los Angeles. Asked to be part of that, which is already a huge deal. I wrestled Konosuke Takeshita night 1, round 1. I feel like I have the best match I possibly can in front of a crowd that doesn't really know me. Next day, I hear that I'm in a multi-man tag match. The people who are knocked out normally are in that multi-man tag match. If they're knocked out in round 1, they're in that match. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll find about 8 of us and put us all together. Here's the one thing I didn't put 2 and 2 together with. Obviously, Bola, Battle of Los Angeles, it's in Los Angeles. Dynamite was going to be on the following Wednesday in Los Angeles. I should have thought, maybe something might happen. Even if I did, though, the last thing I would be thinking is that Chris Jericho will be in a match at PWG Battles of Los Angeles doing an indie show. And I find that out when I'm there at the venue. You're in a tag team match wrestling the Jericho Appreciation Society in like a 4-on-4. They're giving a 5-on-5 tag team match. Everyone's involved. As luck would have it, and by luck, it's by me suggesting to do spots with him. Me and Chris Jericho in this 10-man tag are doing a lot of stuff with each other. And I think he took a liking to me. I think he was impressed with my work from that. There you got the photos of me putting him in half crab, me in the walls of Jericho. He missed a lion salt. I hit a lion salt on him. There's so much more interaction between the 2 of us in that match. It's crazy. He told me to keep in touch after the match. He got me on Talk is Jericho, which was another wild thing. And then next thing I know, I'm invited on the cruise. And that was it. The cruise is an incredible time. Obviously going again 2025. I'm just like, all right, whatever happens, happens. Whoever I wrestle is whoever I wrestle. It's a fun time. It's vibes. We'll do it. I didn't know I'd be competing for the title. I didn't know it would be like I wrestle Speedball Mike Bailey. The winner of that wrestles Matt Cardona. I had no idea that was going to happen until it came out publicly. And then again, once I'm on the cruise, there we go. Victory over Speedball. Victory over Matt Cardona. New champ. That's essentially how it happened. I can only tell you the way it happened is just by recounting the events, because I'm going to myself, what is happening? How is this happening? So yeah, that's kind of how it came about, and obviously I can bring the title where I want, and I've got it in my possession.
Absolutely
I mean, this
amazing.
has been like such a mad moment. Like hearing this as a wrestling fan is one thing. I mean, it's something we all dream of. But a man who, let's take it, a man who has just said his all-time favorites are Chris Jericho and The Rock.
Right.
In a given year, he's now become best friends with Jericho and calling spots with him and winning his title. And I'm a social media mark. I'm seeing you and Amira up in WrestleMania 40, and you're seeing The Rock come out for something we never thought would happen.
Right.
This must have been a great year for Michael Oku.
Yeah. that was a great time just to sit back and be a wrestling fan again as well in Philly. To never think that I would see my favorite wrestler of all time wrestle, let alone seeing him wrestle live, good night. Thank you. That's it. I'm done. You know what I mean? So to have these experiences where everybody that knows me, ask my brother, anyone that's even just not, even if they're not a wrestling fan and they know me, they know that my two guys are Chris Jericho and The Rock. So to have a friendship with Chris Jericho, insane. And then to have been able to then see The Rock wrestle live, I mean that's what I gotta do. I gotta do one above that now, and I've either got to meet him or I gotta be in the ring with him. Who knows? Who knows what can happen?
Hopefully
Stranger
both of
things have happened. Stranger things have happened.
no, but really dope. Your dad as a wrestling fan, like he's got to be so gassed about what's everything that's happening for you, your career.
For sure. Like just not, it's not a given, a guarantee that you'll find success in wrestling. There are so many people who are trying their best and they are talented as well, but you just for some reason or another, you don't find either any modicum of success or the success that you are hoping for.
Yeah.
So for them to see that I'm trying this thing, that I'm chasing my dream. It's a cliche, but I decided to chase my dream and to be finding success at it. I assume that they're very, very happy for me.
That must be a great feeling. Must be a great feeling. Look, Michael, we kind of jumped all over the place, but there's one man I've got to bring up when it comes to the Michael Oku career. Because when it comes to UK wrestling, there are two names that have always stuck out to me. Little did I know they were once a tag team. Okay?
All right.
Yourself and Colin Mills. Now, I could show a tag team side, but I could also show the opponent side to it. And both of them, like, I have seen you guys.
Oh, you see this?
Oh no, Anthony's frozen.
Though, man, like where your career is going from the stories you told us. I mean, I would have thought it was like far more lengthy or in depth. Yeah, but you just through work ethic alone, the shot to the top, man, it's amazing. It's
Now
absolutely.
it does feel like a speedrun at times. The amount of things I've been able to tick off. I would never imagine that I would have done some of these things that I've done at all, let alone in such a short frame of time relatively. So every day I'm able to count my blessings, and I try my best to, when people say smell the roses, so I try my best to step back and be like, wow, actually look where I've been. Look what I've done so far.
I mean, I can only imagine like going into something like high stakes, how much pressure like there must have been on your own shoulders. How do you prepare yourself both mentally and physically? Like
That's probably
for
the
matches.
mental part is harder. The mental part is probably harder than the physical part. At this point now, like I wouldn't need to do much physical preparation or like, other than what I normally do. But again, I mentioned all the variables that were there for that match. Oh, here's a billionaire owner of a wrestling company that's in attendance that's watching this match. This is his last match. Like all these eyes are on here, and we've got 2,000 people as well who are primarily here to see Will Ospreay more so than me. So I've got to make sure that I can hang with with Will. I've got to make sure that I give him the best send off match possible, but also I have to make sure I impress. That I rarely get like super nervous that it bothers me, but that was a time that it was like, I've got to really try and focus, and I'm pacing back and forth backstage to try and like set myself in the zone and just believe in myself. Also, as well, which is I don't talk about it a lot, but I had like a fever that day. I had like a horrible fever.
So sorry.
All good, Anthony. Are you good?
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking about like my preparation for matches, and I was thinking about with high stakes how the mental part was so hard because there was so much pressure it felt, as well as I had a fever that day, so it was just like by the time I'd done my entrance, I'm drenched in sweat because I'm like, oh my gosh, And we're sweaty when we're locking up. Like, I'm sweaty when he's trying to lock up with me and we're wrestling. I'm like, this is going to be a bit of a tough one. But then mentally, there's Tony Khan watching. Here's all these people watching, the 2,000 people in attendance. This is Will Ospreay's last match. But also, here's now the weight of expectation, because this is a rematch of a match that people really loved from 2 years ago of the two of us. So now we have to, and you know how it goes with not just wrestling, but even like in movies or something like that. Man, if you get a good hit, a blockbuster hit, the sequel, ooh, man, it's hard to follow up with the sequel. And so many times people get disappointed with the sequel. So we're trying to live up to at least live up to the quality of match that we had before. The fact that people have said, "Oh no, this one is better," is very cool. There are some people that say that they really preferred the first one. There's so many reasons why they would, which is cool. But like, the mental aspect of preparing yourself for that is way harder at this point for me than the physical.
Nah,
No,
like
okay.
making Aliens, making a Terminator 2 is not the easiest thing, but you guys definitely pulled it off here.
And credit to you, because you were ill and Will was bruised and battered from New Japan. Like, we met him at the meet and greet, and so for you guys to pull off that match with the outside factors against you, well done. Kudos to you guys. But talking preparation, I will come back to Connor Mills in a sec, but I think this is the perfect tangent when it comes to preparation. The Michael Oku August calendar looks like this. MJF, Mark Andrews and Nico Angelo, Luke Jacobs. Now, I'm sure there's other matches out there. I'm sure.
There is one. This weekend. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm in Germany this weekend, the day before the MJF match.
Now, with all of these different opponents, now we're talking about preparation, but it's different styles with each of these opponents. How does one prep all of that in such a tight space?
The best thing I try to do is research. I think research is so important. Just know who it is that I'm wrestling, know how they wrestle, how they move is something I try and pay attention to. And so let's just say I have a situation where I'm going to be jumping on flights. I try and see if I can download like a couple of matches from the person I'm about to wrestle. So I can use that flight to watch their stuff, to study their stuff, to think of ideas. And that gives me the time that eases off the pressure of arriving at the venue and then trying to think of stuff. Fortunately, at this point, I'm confident in who I am as a wrestler, that other people's stuff do a good job in falling into place with that. As well, you know, all those people that you showed, the only person I haven't wrestled is MJF. So I'm also at a fortunate point where I'm wrestling people who I've got some familiarity with, that I know that I have chemistry with these people. I know stuff that we can put together that can already be cool, because we've done cool stuff in the past. That also eases off how much fresh preparation that I have to do for those matches.
Interesting.
Yeah. But again, like it is a lot to prepare for still mentally. Like, you're taking on MJF, like arguably the biggest name you've ever faced. I mean, obviously there's Jericho, there's Ospreay, but if we're talking currently, like, would you class this as the biggest match like you're having?
I think it's as big as I mean, of course, the eyes that it's got on it is probably the most eyes that I've had on a match, other than that Will Ospreay match from earlier this year. It's one that nobody saw coming, and it's one that's been promoted. The Jericho one, he's probably the biggest name I've wrestled in terms of, especially like mainstream. But yeah, dude, like you said, one of the biggest names in professional wrestling across the board in the world is MJF right now. And again, we're talking about what people do and don't have to do. Will Ospreay, he can choose who he wrestles. MJF, he's the one that's decided to wrestle me. I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's it. And he's like, I want to come to Rev Pro. They're like, he's got everything he needs in AEW, but apparently not, because I'm not there and Rev Pro's not there. So he's saying, I want to come to Rev Pro and I want to wrestle Michael Oku. That's for sure a really cool thing. And then when we talk about what this could lead to. And it can lead to many, many things. I know I have plans of what this can lead to. I have thoughts of what we can do with this match. I've got some stuff in the pipeline. All I know is everybody they need to have eyes on that match.
Oh, we'll be there. We'll be there.
Yeah,
We'll be
there.
up in the balcony, Michael. Just look out for us.
They're
Apparently,
good seats.
MOW now stands for Michael Oku Wrestling. So that's
Oh,
we'll be there for you, bro. Do not worry on that one. Funny enough, we've also got tickets to the Triple Threat. So yeah, we're about.
wow.
We're about. But
Wonderful.
do you know what? Another tangent. Us being about the Michael Oku rise and the representation of UK wrestling is one thing. I would be very remiss, and don't get me wrong, it's especially in the current situation we're in, the climate we're in right now, it's not maybe the trend to say, but I would be remiss to not say there's another side of representation that's going on in here, and this is having a black man represent the country doing this thing in wrestling. Now, don't take this as me blowing any smoke, but this is as big as, to me, as big as when we had Kofi Mania. It's very rare in general to see someone make it. Wrestling's hard enough to get into. You don't see a lot of black representation coming on. And then to be seen as a man who has held multiple titles around, you're being called to CMML. You've gone to New Japan. You're in Germany, as you mentioned. You've done Defy. You've done PWG. To be able to have that kind of representation, I just want to say thank you. But how does that feel for you? What does that feel like to have? So here's a story, and this is why it's something that also made the penny drop for me, because a lot of times you go out there, you appreciate who you appreciate. Don't get me wrong. You know, you talk about Jericho, I cheer Cody. It's not a color thing in wrestling. It's something. Yeah, but we were at a Progress show, lining up for autographs and meet man like Doris, and he's like, "My God, there's brothers in the crowd. I'm not used to this." Now, and that's when it starts to hit. Like, my gosh. From our side, it's one thing seeing a black man in the ring, but for you guys seeing it as a fan. So, like, what is that experience like to multiple levels of representation, UK wrestling, but for also the minorities, if you would, because you are carrying that multiple flags there.
It really stood out to me, the lack of black people. I don't use the diversity, just black people that were in wrestling when I got into it. Specifically because I was getting into it in London. I'm a Londoner. I grew up in London. London is probably, up and down one of the most diverse cities in the world. So to be a Londoner and being used to being around so many black people, so many Asian people, so like all walks of life, to then enter this world of wrestling, which is still within London, and then black people disappear, was very odd to me. It also didn't make sense to me because, and you guys can vouch for me, black people love wrestling.
100%.
That is just it. They just do. They just do. Okay.
Yeah.
So for it to be a thing where not only were there only a handful of black wrestlers, but there were also only a handful of black fans, there would be a thing where I would be going to shows even like pre-pandemic. And I can still remember the faces of the black fans when I saw them, and it was like a different kind of nod, a different kind of acknowledgement from each other. Because it's cool to see people that look like you, not only as a wrestler, but like as a fan. So when I started, I didn't have, this is my mission. My mission is this is my mission. That wasn't it. I was like, let me just I'm here to be a wrestler. Let me do my thing. Anyway, it's only until you start to see kind of the change in the crowd and you're seeing more black fans coming. Because what I've heard from some black fans were, we kind of actually did try to go to some indie shows and we didn't really feel that comfortable going to those indie shows because we're like, this isn't really for us because there's not a lot of us. When I'm starting to see that, and when they're starting to see people who are looking like me not only be wrestlers but succeed, and I think that's a really key point, to see us doing big things. And there's a photo of myself, of man like Doris and Leon Slater, and we made sure we went to get a photo. It's the three of us in suits at Wembley Stadium, and I posted it recently again, not so long ago, and Leon quote tweeted it, and he just said in all caps, "British wrestling." And I
Yep.
think there's something so cool because I think the three of us are in our own different ways, own different paths, are doing the most on the British wrestling scene and going around the world representing British wrestling. And it's just very cool that if we are the three that are doing that as British wrestlers, we just also so happen to be black. So now that I'm conscious of it, I'm making sure that people are seeing, oh, right, who's the number one wrestler in the UK? There's someone called Michael Oku. What? He's black? Huh. How's that? How's that work? How's that go? I want people to now just be like, yeah, this is how it is. This is the norm. When you see like great wrestlers, not just from around the world, but even from the UK, a good number of them are black.
No, 100%. And like I was saying it to you off air, I said it to you face to face. It means so much for us as black men to just see you at the top of the industry. Because I mean, it's one thing for someone you're a fan of to be at the top of the industry at all. But for you to be doing it and you to be like, one of us, man, it just feels good. It makes us feel
It's
warm
one of those
inside.
things, we talk about, people still reference how Booker T should have won the title with Triple H and the whole people like you. The fact that we can count how many black champions you've had at the top of the game. All props and respect to Moose, who's done what he's done in TNA. But you look at what you're getting in the WWE, and it's like, okay, there's that. Okay, Trick and Carmelo have done their thing. But on the main stage, it's not there. But to have the UK know it in this sense that, as I said, it's very hard to talk UK wrestling and not have your name come up. It's just factual right now. And then you talk about the other two gentlemen that's there. Leon Slater recently signed to TNA. Impressive as hell. I saw him. It was just as he had signed to TNA, I went to Turning Point. Fell in love with everything he does. Seeing man like the Reese, it's such a journey. And as you said, all very different, but representing. And I need to find that picture, by the way. It will probably make it to the final cut of this interview. That picture of the three of you. That I think I'm spending the UK hurt business out here, but no, like that. That's a big move. And again, I can only but say thank you for it.
Yeah, thank you, and we are so proud of you. Honestly, that comes from the heart.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm just trying to be the best wrestler I can be, and also at the same time still there's like a role model aspect of it, because I want to make sure that with that comes making sure that I present myself in the best way, and I represent by making sure that I'm someone who's a positive to represent the community. That's really important to me now.
That's great stuff. That's great stuff. Look, Michael, I know we've taken up a lot of your time. There are two people I need to bring up in this.
Yep.
One, my internet connection failed it. Maybe it's just
yes, please.
It's just the way Destination Everywhere feels nowadays. But yes, this was one of my favorite matches of the year. You two throwing it down you and Conor Mills throwing it down at Purpose Wrestling. We've seen you as foes. We've seen you as friends. Is there a chance we could ever see a reunion of Destination Everywhere?
Well, okay. Well, so me and Mills were best friends. In the same way that like Eddie Dennis was my trainer, but Mills was always there training with me. And I feel like a big part of your development as a trainee wrestler is who you're training with. And from such a young age, so when I started, he might have been about 17 years old when I started, and he already had years of experience. He'd already been on shows, and he was already a prodigy at that age. I truly credit training with Mills and him being my best friend to the reason I was able to grow as a professional wrestler. And I feel like because of that, that's where our chemistry as a tag team developed. It started in Rev Pro, and then it broke down in Rev Pro, and then that's when we started feuding. We've since had multiple singles matches with each other, and we've had like a couple this year actually, like not even just one. It was a messy breakup, so to speak, which culminated in a big match at York Hall, and then we've now still we've like crossed paths here and there, like on opposite ends. However, this is what I will say. Copper Box Arena. You know, August is Rev Pro's biggest show ever, the 12-year anniversary show. I am wrestling Luke Jacobs. He is wrestling Ethan Allen. Ethan Allen and Luke Jacobs are current best friends. They are a tag team called the Young Guns. We wrestled in tag team matches years ago. We might not be kumbaya, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend, I guess. So it looks like that can work. I don't know what will happen in the future, but
I'm not
if
gonna
there was
lie.
going to be a tag match we'd come back for, I guess that might be the one.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like The Rock right now. Look at it, goosebumps.
Look at it. Look at it.
Actual
Look at it.
goosebumps hearing
Look at
you
it.
say that. I didn't even make. How stupid! I didn't even make the connection. Oh my days! Oh wow. Yeah, I'm shivering. Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna let Tone ask a question, but I have to ask it as well. We've seen the guest appearance there. She is one of my favorite wrestlers on the scene at the moment. I've always said, now this is me being a geek, and like apart from this, me and Tone talk films with the rest of the ministry. I've always said there's a lot of things I would like a partner to have in me, but the one in common with me. But the one thing I don't expect is that she has to be a wrestling fan. She doesn't have to come to a wrestling show. Thankfully, the lady of the house has come to a few wrestling shows with me. You are lucky enough to have a partner who is also in the industry. Yes, I am talking about the golden couple of UK wrestling. I did have the picture somewhere. Yeah, here we are. Look at you guys with all the gold. Look at this. Look at that. Michael Oku and Amira just holding everything. How is it to be on a journey and have your partner with you on that? That's got to feel amazing, man.
It's really cool, and you talk about the benefits of us both being wrestlers. It's a thing where now we both understand. If I was in this going on this journey on my own and she wasn't a wrestling fan or didn't understand wrestling, wasn't a wrestler, the sacrifices you have to make, and it's mainly time. It's mainly time. That's the biggest sacrifice you make when it comes to pro wrestling. The time you have to put into it to find a level of success is something that, like, if you want to leave because it's too much time, it's completely understandable. You're not a bad person. I'm in the wrong. But I have to keep doing it. I have to commit to it. So for her to also be a wrestler and put that time in it as well and know how much it takes to find success in this game makes it an easy experience, and it takes off any kind of guilt that I might have had if she didn't understand it as well. It's great seeing her development as well. It's great seeing her milestones, her victories as well. I always try to be there for them when I can. I was there for when she won. I was on commentary actually for when she won the WrestleForce Women's Championship. Because I was like, I'll be there. I'll do whatever. So it's that balancing act to make sure that we're both there for each other. Of course, that's the thing where, especially at Rev Pro, she's my manager. It's an interesting thing. And that came about literally because she was going to Rev Pro shows anyway, but she would be either like sitting at merch or maybe backstage. But when my match came on, she would find a way, sometimes near front row, and everybody would hear a woman screaming while I'm wrestling. So she was nearly low-key legitimately doing manager stuff without the payday. So I think that's when Andy was like, look, people know that you guys are together and you're already shouting. You can't help yourself but to come out and shout while he's wrestling. How about you actually do it at ringside? And that's kind of how the pairing came about. So and that's helped me tremendously. It's added like a different layer onto my act, and there's so many more stories we can tell. The fact that we're a couple and with my stuff in Rev Pro. So yeah, no, we're enjoying just the success we're finding together, and the journey, the fact that we're going on this journey together. There are some trips, we went to Costa Rica and it was the two of us in Costa Rica together, and we were able to step back and be like, wow, we're in Costa Rica. We're in Costa Rica. We're in South America, enjoying the weather as well as wrestling. But then the days off we had, we're able to just say like, oh, we're actually here now together, getting to enjoy the sweet weather and the sweet the riches of pro wrestling. So yeah, it's a great time being with her.
No, great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, that must be a good feeling. And you know, I guess you guys get to sort of like talk shop, like and talk industry, like with each other on like a regular basis. Like, I wonder though, like, how is it for you to see each other when you have to switch character? For instance, like you're your babyface in Rev, and you're heel in Purpose. Yeah, like, do you ever sit down and laugh about like how you need to sort of switch up?
It's a funny thing, right? Especially when well, let's give Purpose for an example. You know, it's in London. Sometimes if there's a place where I'm a heel in one place, it's far away from where I normally wrestle, so it doesn't really matter. But it's interesting when I know it's the same fans I'm wrestling in front of, where they see me as the top of number one babyface, but then I'm the number one heel in this place. It's an interesting thing. I always try my best to really kind of get into it and make sure that there's a different switch in my head and different motivation in my head. I don't go crazy. There's this clip of Randy Orton like freaking holding his breath and going red. I don't do that, but but I'd make sure that I do just like make sure that this is a completely different person in my head. Well, no, it's not a completely different person. It's completely different motives. It's the same person in my head. I think that's always important to me as well. Trying to find like maybe like a little through line between all the people that I'm being in all different places I'm wrestling. So even if you're booing me or cheering me, it's the same person but with different motivations. And then she just completely just like throws everything out to the wayside and just like I'm gonna just do whatever, be whatever, depending on where I'm wrestling, and she'll be completely different to who she is. I think who she is as a heel is closer to who she actually is. And I think she does enjoy that more.
She's shouting serious wrestling.
Yeah.
And the Britney gimmick, her and Cassius killed me at Riot.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That is
That is
one of the
definitely-
golden moments of wrestling. But yeah, that's
Okay.
great stuff, man. Absolutely love it.
Well, let me ask you the $1 million question now. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Hopefully with $1 million. Let's start with that.
Preach.
That's the real answer. That's the real
Preach.
answer. I mean,
You
man,
deserve it.
I don't know if it's been asked. I don't know if I've been asked the question like that, like in the next 5 years. Because then when I hear that, I think about, okay, well, where was I 5 years ago? And there was a whole damn pandemic that happened. But 5 years ago, that was 2019. That was like, I always say 2019 is my come up year. That was the year where I really like, I was on the map with big matches with Pac, with Shingo Takagi. So many big achievements happened in 2019. Then I was in Jushin Thunder Liger's last UK match. I was his tag partner. There's so much that happened then that like 5 years later, it's crazy to think of what I've been able to achieve now and the different wrestler that I am now. So in 5 years' time, I'll have 5 more years of all of that. I would be if I was to have a specific guess, I'd get it wrong. But I do think that in 5 years' time, I will be on a major stage in pro wrestling. Is what my belief is.
I mean,
Huh?
earlier you alluded to a certain match that if all the pieces fall into place, it leads to a part of the plan. Is that kind of linked to the 5-year plan?
Of course, I mean that's a we're talking that's a 1 week plan. You know, that's an August plan. You know, there's a lot of things that can happen. There's just so much that can happen that people don't believe might happen, but things can happen. This is the craziest year in wrestling. Joe Hendry is on NXT as a regular, and he doesn't need a contract. You know, all these things are like all these wrestlers are coming down from New Japan, from Noah. They're coming here to the UK to wrestle. There are all these new relationships developing with big promotions in Japan. In like Marigold is a new women's promotion, and then they're doing stuff with WWE and letting them wrestle. There are so many cross-termination that is occurring in 2024, which is a great thing for the wrestlers as well as the fans. And I'm telling it, I'm saying it now. I can feel myself benefiting from that in a big way.
100%.
Can't wait
Listen
to
to
see it.
any of our shows. I've been saying for a long time, Michael Oku is the future of wrestling.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I really do, man.
Yeah, man. And I take it you must have got to chop it up with like Tony Khan when he came to High States.
We spoke. Yes, we spoke after the match. Yeah.
Yeah, man. We
People have
expect
asked.
big things. but
We
before we
have.
go to our quick fire, let me just ask you a quick question because I always like to ask this. What do you find more fun, playing the babyface or playing the heel?
Being a babyface. I want to say that because I want to be different. Because every single wrestler is going to say being a heel. Every single wrestler is going to say being a heel. So I'm going to say being a babyface. I think it's also harder to be a babyface.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that's why people say that they enjoy being a heel. There's so much more you can get away with if you're a heel in terms of like, if you trip up and fall over and fall right on your ass accidentally, it works because you're a heel. But if you do it as a babyface, that can ruin your aura like that. It's, to me, you got to be vulnerable as a babyface. You got to be okay with allowing yourself to show vulnerability as a babyface. So there's a lot more work that comes into it, but I think it is so much more rewarding if you do it right.
Yeah.
That's why, and I think I've been doing that these last few years. That's why I would say, I'm enjoying being a babyface and I'm enjoying getting a connection with the crowd, with like young fans and old. There's a really good feeling with doing that, and when you can get a crowd to stand up off their feet because they're right behind you, they're right with you. It's a very cool feeling.
Yeah, I can only imagine how good it feels having the adulation of an entire arena, like just chanting your name, and they generally meet as well, man.
No, exactly. Yeah, they're not forcing it. They're not playing a role. They can do what they want. And we've seen it. We've watched enough wrestling. No fans can. They will do what they want if they feel it.
Oh,
So
that's us.
for them to make that decision and to be behind me, I don't take that for granted at all. And I really, really appreciate it.
Brilliant.
Okay, Michael, we have used quite a lot of your time. We've just got a quick fire question round for you. If you don't mind, we are going to just change the screen up a bit. This is what we like to call Beyond the Ring. Gives people a chance to get to know you a bit more. Some of it's wrestling related, some of it's not wrestling related. We will ask a question each. Let's get the video rolling, and then we are good to go. So, first question I'm going to ask Michael is, match you are most proud to have competed in?
It'd be the match with Will Ospreay from 2024. High stakes.
Nice.
Brilliant. What's your cheat meal?
My cheat meal is it's jollof rice and plantain and chicken.
Nice.
That's the truth.
What a meal to have. Hobbies outside of the wrestling world?
I'm really trying my best to be like a really confident video editor. Like I get people to outsource my entrance videos. I've got a new one coming this Sunday, but I'm doing a good job. I love like learning the video editing side of stuff so that I know how to do it myself if I need to.
Oh, cool, man. If you had to skip a day in the gym, which would it be?
I do full body, so I don't even know how I'd answer that because I don't. Every day is leg day for me. Anytime I go to the gym, I would actually skip cardio. Actually, if sometimes I do cardio on its own as one day, I would actually skip that because I'm enjoying lifting heavy stuff at the moment.
Okay, as you can see, it's been a while since I've been to the gym, so all of it is being skipped with me. Your dream match with any current wrestler?
Oh. Does The Rock count? He won a WrestleMania main event this year, so The Rock counts. He's a current wrestler. The Rock.
Yeah. You're right. That goes.
Mm-hmm. How about any wrestler that's no longer with us
or retired?
Oh, oof. I would love to wrestle Eddie Guerrero.
Nice. That is
I
quite
would
a
love to see that.
That is quite a popular call, actually. Frog Splash versus Frog Splash.
Mhm.
Toughest opponent you faced?
Luke Jacobs. Luke Jacobs. Like I've got an eye injury. Like my eye is like sunken in because of wrestling Luke Jacobs. He hits hard. He's probably one of my favorite wrestlers to watch wrestle, but my least favorite wrestler to wrestle. So, yeah, let's say tough one will be Luke Jacobs.
Okay. Who's the most gifted opponent you ever been in the ring with?
Gifted.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably Will. I've been in the ring with many people. There is something to the way he's able to control his body and control your body as well. That like is like a class like no one else. There are people that are close. There are people who show some of those things like Leon Slater, but Will Ospreay is he's something different, man.
Cool. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. You have to pick one. You're not allowed to say both on this. Your wrestling idol growing up. Rock or Jericho, bro?
It's The Rock. It's The Rock, okay? Don't tell Chris though, but it's
Cool. I would have gone the same if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's mine. Yeah, we all know like that's the top of my Rushmore, The Rock, man. It's the same way it is, isn't it?
yeah.
What was your favorite match you watched growing up? It's probably, I have a feeling it might be the same as mine, but go ahead.
Favorite match of all time is The Rock versus Hulk Hogan, WrestleMania 18.
Oh,
Big match.
Mhm.
Big match.
Oh, that's a great match. You know what? I thought you was gonna go at 17.
It's very close, obviously, for many reasons. I watched that live as a 7-year-old. It's crazy, but it's Hogan Rock. There was something magical about that I had never experienced, even at that young age as a wrestling fan.
What went through your mind as a child when like the people booed The Rock? Yeah, in favor of
Yeah, I didn't know what was
Hulk
going on. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, again, I knew of Hulk Hogan. I knew like the myth and the legend of Hulk Hogan, but obviously I didn't properly grow up on him. So, last thing I saw him crash The Rock into an ambulance. And now next thing you know, everybody's like treating this guy like he's God. And I'm like, wait, guys, what? But but when he hulks up, when he kicks out of the rock bottom and hulks up, it was almost like I got it at the age of 8 or however again how old I was. It was like, oh, I get it. I get this now. I get what's going on. This is something special. So yeah, that match it has to be number one. Nothing will ever remove it from number one.
Nice. All right,
That's
Michael,
brilliant.
we have done that. But as you said, there's a very busy calendar. Sadly, I don't. Who is it you're facing in Germany, may I ask?
I'm facing a wrestler called Egil Blanc. He has wrestled
I know it,
a
yes.
few times. He's fused a few times here in the UK. He recently won a new championship that WXW introduced called the European Championship. And they thought, hey, who should his first defense be? Probably the best wrestler in Europe. So I answered the call, and that's who I'm wrestling. I'm also in the Royal Rumble, I believe, on the same show. So
Wow.
we'll see how that goes. Double duty before wrestling MJF the next day.
Actually, I'm going to put you back on that same screen I had, because here's what I'm going to do now. Again, put you on the spot. It's going to be a case of asking Michael Oku what message you have for each of these big opponents that you've got leading into it. So Egil Blanc, next week, what's the message you got for him?
Well, last time I wrestled Egil Blanc in a singles match, it was also the day before a York Hall match where I won the British Heavyweight Championship. So I beat him then. I guess I'm going to beat him again. New champ.
MJF, what do you have to say to him?
MJF, the man who cosplays as a tough guy. He cosplays as a black guy, if you saw him return, and how tanned he was. He cosplays as MJF from 2019. He's still trying to figure out who he is as a person, as a wrestler, and he thinks that he can undermine me by the words he's using. This isn't a Britain versus America thing. We barely like our own country to begin with. So you've come to the wrong person. You come to the wrong place. And once again, I'm going to prove that if you step in the ring with me, you end up biting off more than you can chew.
Okay.
Really.
Mark Andrews and Nico Angelo.
Man, Mark Andrews is turned to the dark side. He's got subculture with him as well. He just seems to be jealous that I am successful, which is sad. It's just a sad thing to be bitter at someone else's success. I wouldn't do it, but he has, and he wants to take the title from me. That's his problem. Nico Angelo, he kind of wants the success that I have, which is understandable, but he wants it in a healthy way, which is cool, and I admire. Uh, there's going to be some big fireworks. That show is sold out. It is the day before the Copper Box, and don't think that I'm going to take it easy just because I've got some other big matches in the pipeline. No, I'm making sure that I retain the Right Category World Championship.
Okay. And finally, the Copper Box. Luke Jacobs.
We're the two best wrestlers on the scene today. If you go up and down the entire country and you ask the fans who are the two best wrestlers, a lot of people will say me, a lot of people will say Luke Jacobs. So it only makes sense that you main event the biggest show in British wrestling this year with the two best British wrestlers on the scene today. I think that's a huge statement for Andy to book that, and I think the two of us are going to prove why we're the best. But of course, my job is to prove why I am the best.
Wow. Look, Michael, as I said, 2 out of 3 tickets we've got so far. Payday's coming. You'll probably see me at the Copper Box too. That's just the way. I just have to take this time to just say thank you so much. I know we've said thank you countless times, but as I said, it was like catching Moby Dick. Having you take the time to reply, but giving us over an hour of your time is something that you have no idea how much it means to us. So I just thank you for your time and just everything. Keep doing what you're doing because it means a lot to, book safe to the black fans, but to the UK wrestling fans. Your name has carried and is going places, and we are very, very, very proud of you. Keep doing it.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. And in a way, I'd say the same to you guys. Keep doing what you're doing in terms of supporting. It's very easy to support the mainstream wrestling. They're fine. It's easy to support WWE and AEW, but for you guys to be coming to the UK indies and to get that itch of wanting to come to these shows locally, be it in your call, a Copper Box, or a freaking library. The fact that you guys are coming down to these shows to show your support, it means a lot. The UK doesn't have a major company in the country. There's not one. So the indies is our major.
We get by America. It's really, really appreciated for me. So just keep doing what you're doing in that sense and
It's gonna be good.
I'm happy to see that you guys are enjoying wrestling. Oh, sorry.
No, your mic kind of cut out partway through, but we got the message. We did get the message there.
Thank you. No, yes, okay.
It's likewise appreciated. So look, at this point, I'm going to put you on the full screen. If there's any socials, anything you want to plug about Michael Oku, the stage is yours.
Well, I think the main thing I'd plug is michaeloku.com. I made sure to put it in this way, right there in the in my description there. Got a new t-shirt out. Me and Amira have never had a joint t-shirt out. We've got our first joint t-shirt. I can already see that people are putting their orders in, so I would jump on that, people, as soon as possible. And then I guess I'd plug revolutionprowrestling.com. That's the place I wrestle the most. You go to their website, you can see all the events that they're doing. They do shows nearly weekly, and that's where you can see me doing my thing. And again, my social media is at the OJMO. If you want to check my schedules and what I'm doing or what I'm posting, see what I'm up to, that's the place to go. So those are the 3 main links to see me. And I appreciate the support that everyone's given me all these years. It really does mean a lot, and it helps me. It drives me to do even more.
Great stuff. And you made me ask you one more question. The OJMO is a bit like the CM Punk. Everyone has a theory as to what it stands for. Can we get a confirmation of what it actually stands for?
So it is there's like a combination of like my Nigerian names, but also one of my bigger young influences, or someone who I was a big fan of when I was young, was Owen Hart. Owen Hart was called Owen James Hart, and OJ is also like my Nigerian name Okuabasi as the full name. Then my as I was the youngest, I was always called Junior. I'm still called Junior by my family. So I just kind of had my initials in my head. I created as Okuabasi Junior Michael Oku. Therefore, when I knew that Owen Hart also had Owen James Hart, I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm the younger brother. My brother's favorite wrestler is Bret Hart, his older brother. It kind of all just kind of came together. So that was kind of the name I was like, if I was ever a wrestler, this is going to be my name. And that's how I started off with, and then just transitioned into Michael Oku.
Banging stuff. Love it. Love it. Okay, guys. There it is. If you've not seen this man before, check out his stuff all over, whether it's with Riot, whether it's with Rev, whether it's with Purpose, Jericho's Cruise, North Wrestling. He had a tag match with Amira against Haskins and Vicky Haskins. Like, this guy is everywhere. He's doing everything. CMML, New Japan. Check him. I just type Michael Oku and find the library. I'm going to miss something, so I'm going to keep quiet. Until the next time, though, guys, I am the one AJ Anthony Jordan.
And this is a big tone at the zone. A very special thank you to you, Michael, once again. And we are so proud of you. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.